Tonight on the Northwestern News Report, how the Northwestern community is reacting to election results.
Plus, your latest campus COVID updates. What's in store for students as the university makes plans to bring back underclassmen this winter.
And the new credit, no credit grading option is met with mixed marks. Those stories and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news right now.
Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Megan Leibowitz.
And I'm Rupa Pala. Minutes after Joe Biden was declared the next president of the United States, celebrations broke out across Evanston.
Evanstonians gathered at the square, cheering, waving flags, and dancing as cars drove by and honked. Like in other cities across the U.S., this impromptu celebration lasted several hours after Pennsylvania turned blue. At least one car of President Trump's supporters circled the celebration, but the overwhelming majority of people were Biden supporters cheering for the new president-elect.
I helped campaign, postcards, phone bank. It was a hard-fought race. We got a lot of work to do, but so proud of this country.
Although Joe Biden is now president-elect, Donald Trump is not conceding. President Trump is pursuing legal action to try to turn the tables his way. NNN's Jason Harward explains.
The 2020 election, set to drag out in the courts over state voting laws and allegations, without evidence, of voter fraud.
And we think we will win the election very easily. We think it's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land. We'll see.
On Monday, Attorney General William Barr announced a probe into voting irregularities.
I think the likelihood of the election being overturned by the legal system is about the same as the likelihood of Earth being destroyed by a meteor. It's not going to happen. Trump announced multiple times before the election that if he did not win, he would allege fraud.
Some conservative legal minds believe federal courts can get involved when state courts encroach Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution, which puts the state legislature in charge of voting procedures for presidential elections.
The legislature implies the whole system of lawmaking and law interpretation.
One state to watch is Pennsylvania, where a 4-4 Supreme Court decision before Election Day allowed an extension of the deadline for mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day. If these ballots are thrown out, which is unlikely, it may not matter.
The margins in Pennsylvania are too great. And if Biden has won Pennsylvania, which he certainly has, the other states don't matter.
Trump campaign digging in for a legal fight as celebrations of his defeat ring out across the nation. Jason Harward, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Jason. An election like no other. 5 days of ballot counting before Joe Biden was projected the winner. And Republicans, including the president himself, questioned whether the counting of mail-in ballots in some states were conducted fairly with no evidence. So what are Northwestern students' reactions? NNN's Julia Richardson has more.
After post-election celebrations broke out, students from across the aisle weigh in.
I really want to believe that the election, what we've been having over the past few days, has been done fairly and consistently, but the abundance of evidence is directing me towards it's a complete crap show.
Ryan Abbott, Secretary of Public Relations for NU College Republicans, says he has a hard time believing the election hasn't been tampered with, even though there is no evidence to support this assertion.
I hope that the things that we're seeing make their way to the courts and we resolve these things, because changing the election laws at the 11th hour in the middle of a pandemic was not a bright idea.
Abbott says he can understand why Trump is questioning the integrity of the election, but Zimone Perez from NU for Biden has a different opinion.
He has every right given to him by U.S. law to ask for a recount and to challenge the results, but not cast doubt about the validity of people's votes.
Party differences aside, both Perez and Abbott emphasize the need to unite the country above all else.
I think the sooner that our House becomes less divided and we start to kind of heal the rifts that have only been exacerbated over the last few years.
We just want someone who's genuine, who wants to unite the country.
Meanwhile, Biden has promised to be a president for all Americans, prioritizing racial equity, COVID-19, and more. Julia Richardson, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Julia. The 2020 election wasn't just nerve-wracking for Americans, and it ends Hannah John with what international students have to say.
The world has its eye on the US elections last week, and when Joe Biden was projected to win, international students showed overwhelmingly positive responses.
I was quite relieved that Biden was to be the next president.
With tightening visa policies during the pandemic, international students debated between going home or stay in the US. Kandai Lim, a sophomore from Cambodia, went back home early this year but now feels more comfortable returning to NU.
It's just too hectic in America at the moment, so my family kind of say that maybe you should just stay in Cambodia for now and stuff. But then with this election's over, maybe a couple more months, hopefully everything is a little bit better. So it will probably allow me to feel more at ease to go back to the United States.
Gassia Chu, a freshman from Burundi, took a gap quarter but also expects to step foot on campus.
As an international, so I'm really preoccupied by immigration issues, and I hope that will be the first thing to change.
Some students like Mason Nunn, a sophomore from Malaysia, stayed in the US after the outbreak, but still worries over visa policy.
Like the Trump administration kind of like try to, get international students to go in-person class or just like lose your visa.
The election results bring hope to international students wishing to be welcomed to their second home soon. Hannah John, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Hannah. We now turn to student activism. NU Community Not Cops, or NUCNC, demands the university divest from policing and invest in Black communities. Hundreds of campus organizations have signed a petition for their cause. But now, tensions are rising between activists and police. Chloe Cope reports.
NUCNC holding their first in-person protest since Halloween on Monday, marching peacefully through Evanston, accompanied by a large police presence in riot gear. On Halloween, Evanston police officers used pepper spray and arrested one protester, according to a statement from the university. The detained protester was released later that night. A protester from that night has agreed to speak to NNN on the condition of anonymity, fearing repercussions from the university.
I definitely experienced it. I felt it. I was coughing a lot. I saw a lot of people near me who were cheering.
EPD says student protesters, quote, threw bricks at police officers, shined high-powered lasers into their eyes, and threw lit fireworks and smoke bombs at the officers. The statement also says an officer from the Northern Illinois Police Alarm System, which was called in for assistance, was transported to the hospital after being injured by a firework. The protest also marked by anti-police graffiti on university property. An NUCNC organizer declined NNN's request for an interview and declined to provide a written statement. EPD also declined NNN's request for an interview.
I saw a smoke bomb. It was in pretty far from people. I heard fireworks. I didn't see any aggression toward the cops personally.
The student says on the night of the Halloween protest, it was difficult to follow orders to disperse from EPD because officers formed a tight border around the protesters.
They kept saying that they were going to make arrests and that we had to disperse, but on many occasions they were really surrounding us and didn't really leave room for us to disperse.
News of the protest quickly circulated on Twitter, with students calling on each other to provide resources and bail to those involved.
Suddenly, I'm tearing and borrowing somebody's goggles and coughing. It seems incredibly unnecessary and emblematic of why we're out there.
Students say the events of Halloween night will not silence them, and they are already out marching again.
I think it's empowered me to go out there more. I really see what we're fighting against.
Chloe Cope, Northwestern News Network.
The university says in their statement they, quote, do not condone breaking the law. Should members of the Northwestern community be found in violation of university policies, state or federal laws, they will be held accountable through our processes.
Up next, your campus COVID updates. What's in store for underclassmen returning to school this winter?
This winter, Northwestern plans to open campus to first and second year students. This as Illinois reports a record 12,000 plus new coronavirus cases on Tuesday, and as more restrictions across the state have been put into place to slow the spread. NNN's Nolan Robinson covers COVID.
From November 5th to 11th, Northwestern's COVID positivity rate increased to 1.11%. This, as Illinois also sees a spike in cases, leading to new restrictions. Now, all indoor dining and bar service is suspended, and gathering sizes are limited to 50 or fewer people. With slower business, students feel the hit too.
I was laid off from my job at a restaurant just sort of based on declining business, and they had to make some cuts, which is unfortunate.
Yet even with Northwestern's safety implementations, the campus-wide activity level is currently yellow. According to NU's COVID dashboard, this could have been caused by unfavorable local or regional trends. So will incoming students feel safe?
I feel like among the people that I know, and obviously talking to people at my dorm, I'm feeling pretty comfortable about that, at least that aspect.
As cases spike across the U.S., the accessibility to testing once a week is a source of safety and comfort, as many students don't have this resource back at home.
The fact that people do get tested like once a week, I feel like is pretty good.
I just feel like it's a necessity, really, because if we didn't really have testing, then it would be really bad, because it's basically like we're just wandering around in the dark. But I do think that that's a place to start.
College is a unique experience, made even more unique in the age of the coronavirus. But coming to campus now won't be how new students originally dreamed it would be.
We all have to wear masks and try and maintain social distance as much as possible. But I think for me, it's just a matter of going out and seeing new people, even if it is from a distance.
Honestly, I've just been dying to meet some new people.
While we may be getting tired of COVID, COVID is not getting tired of us. Testing will be on a 2-week hold during winter break, so wash your hands, wear a mask, and do everything the Wildcat way. Nolan Robinson, Northwestern News Network.
Nolan joins us now. Has the university announced new frequency in testing or changes in access to common spaces?
Well, as of now, the university has yet to make an announcement about new frequency in testing or changes in access to on-campus places. Yet because campus will be more dense next quarter, I can't imagine testing lines will be a little bit longer and social distancing will be enforced all the more. Ladies?
Northwestern recently announced that they plan to allow students back on campus for winter quarter, but do underclassmen want to come back? NNN's Katrina Pham has the story.
The prospect of living on campus has students excited.
Even if it's not first quarter, I would very much like to feel the campus vibe and see the lakeside.
But with the pandemic still looming and cases on the rise in Cook County, students aren't making concrete plans.
Since the COVID numbers are on the rise again, if things get really worse, then I might change my plans and just decide to stay in Korea for the winter quarters.
Even if students return, they know they won't be getting the full college experience.
I think there's going to be a lot of social pressure to not stay isolated. So I'm not sure how I would deal with that because, I really don't want to get this virus.
But for international students who've struggled with the remote learning time difference, being on campus may be a welcome option.
The time difference definitely takes its toll, so I hope I can go.
Students are staying optimistic yet realistic about a campus return. Katrina Pham, Northwestern News Network.
Some students tell NNN that they're wary about making plans after the university changed course so close to fall quarter.
The reality of college right now is a whole lot of Zoom. Are high school students deterred from applying? Here's NNN's Joey Safchik.
High school senior Annalise Levy knows she wants to go to college. But does she want to go to college like this?
Okay. I personally don't think it's worth it to go out of state, which is what I'm planning to do, if all of the classes are online.
Because of COVID, the Colorado teen is thinking more seriously about taking a gap year.
I really like personal interactions. I just think it wouldn't be helpful, so I would take a gap year to either work or to do extra classes that I could potentially do.
And she's not alone. According to an Axios poll, 22% of college students across all 4 years say they're not attending school this fall.
Trying to share with students like that understanding and appreciation that, yes, things are a little different this year. We're aware of it. Colleges are aware of it.
But plenty of high schoolers are hopeful COVID will be under control this time next year, and they plan to give it the old college try.
If it's all remote or in person or hybrid or whatever form education and extracurriculars takes next year, I think I'm ready for it.
And even though prospective students can't come and officially tour Northwestern, online tours and virtual programming can give them a sense of the Wildcat spirit.
I've had more interactions with more people per college because it's so easy to do these interactions over Zoom.
The Common App giving students a chance to express how COVID has affected their high school experience.
Trying to think creatively about how they're still nurturing their own growth outside of academics even, and how we're going to help them communicate that to schools.
Even though the future is murky, Levy is ready to accept whatever the next year brings.
I've definitely learned to accept things more through this process and become more adaptable to changes.
The class of 2021 excelling in the subject of adaptability. Joey Safchik, Northwestern News Network.
Northwestern is one of more than 1,500 schools that is test optional this year, meaning students do not have to submit an SAT or ACT score.
Evanston Skokie District 65 schools will not reopen as planned on November 16th. Instead, they say that they're going to move back the reopening to January 19th. School District 65 Superintendent Devin Horton says the decision comes as COVID-19 cases spike in Cook County. He says the call was made with the health and safety of the staff and students in mind, but Horton says the January date is a goal and not a guarantee.
I can't commit and pray and say that that's 100% sure. If the rates are still in position where our health and safety, our number one core value, is jeopardized, we won't. But if the numbers trend down to that 8% or lower, and some other metrics about ICU beds, access to our teachers and our staff, which we should have access to more staffing during that time when we return in January. If all go well, we will open.
The new reopening date gives students time to complete a 2-week quarantine after winter break before starting school.
It's been 1 week since Governor Pritzker's statewide indoor dining ban went into effect. As temperatures drop, restaurants wonder how they'll keep their customers from going cold as they rely on takeout and delivery once again. Lindsay Tanney has the story.
Governor Pritzker's recent indoor dining ban forces Evanston restaurants to find new ways to serve the community.
The main thing is just staying connected to them, like on social media. We just set up like our website for like gift cards and like online ordering.
Lopez takes customer engagement to the next level by creating an app and partnering with other local restaurants to provide giveaways on online orders.
So if you connect a bank account or a credit card, like we can see like transactions with a partnered restaurant, and that'll give you points for the giveaway.
Lopez is working hard to increase sales, but he thinks his efforts cannot match previous indoor dining revenue.
Usually when you're sitting at home and you're thinking of getting takeout, you're thinking like tacos or like Chinese or pizza, and not tacos.
The Illinois Restaurant Association states restaurants are among the most highly regulated for sanitation, making them safer than other businesses Pritzker's allowing to operate. So what's the reason for this ban, and why restaurants?
The problem with restaurants is it is a gathering of people not being unable to wear a mask for a period of time.
Laid off restaurant workers should
look for any work they can find. Temporary, non-temporary. It's going to be a long winter.
Restaurants serving their customers remotely, while in-person dining is temporarily off the table. Lindsay Tanney, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Lindsay. Now that students are back in Evanston, businesses' reliance on Northwestern is still in the spotlight. Adinan's Talia Kallman has the story.
When the pandemic hit in March, businesses, especially those in downtown Evanston, greatly missed the approximately 8,000 undergraduate students who were sent home and the 10,000 faculty and staff working remotely.
The students are a very important part of the economy. It brings a really cool dynamic to Evanston
that we wouldn't have without the university.
Roger Sosa, executive director of the Evanston Chamber of Commerce, says businesses near Ryan Field have lost close to 90% of their business from the loss of Northwestern football crowds.
The Evanston economy is very dependent upon Northwestern. I mean, there are some businesses that are 60 to 70% of their business is Northwestern in the downtown area. And in Central Street, some of them depend on 90 to 95% of their business for game day.
Sosa says at least part of the current crisis could have been avoided.
Back in February, when really important people discovered that this was going to be a problem, plans should have been put in place then.
But due to the lack of immediate federal action, Sosa says the Evanston economy is heading into a long and difficult winter. Talia Kalman, Northwestern News Network.
A new local initiative is bringing sweetness to downtown Evanston. NNN's Lauren Hutner serves up the story.
When life gives the city of Evanston lemons,
and we were shut down for over 2 months,
they make lemonade.
We're appreciating more for sure.
Make Lemonade Days is helping Evanston's local businesses survive during the pandemic.
It's a part scavenger hunt, part shopping promotion.
35 Evanston businesses are participating in the initiative. Some have promotions, others are supporting the community.
We just want to be part of the community and things like that, and we think the message is great.
Make Lemonade doesn't just aim to help businesses. There's a community aspect as well. Local patrons are participating too.
It's been very family friendly. We've seen a lot of parents with kids participating.
If you're in Evanston, there are many ways to squeeze the moment. From art installations in Fountain Square to yellow decals in storefronts, Make Lemonade Days is turning the sour year sweet.
We're relying heavily on the Evanston residents to step up and help us keep these doors open for these businesses.
Downtown Evanston, bringing a zest of life to the community. Lauren Hutner, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Lauren. Coming up, how Dia de los Muertos celebrated victims of COVID-19.
Dia de los Muertos, a celebration across Latin American communities, is a holiday that brings honor and light to life and death. And this year, COVID was included in the celebration. NNN's Michaela Denault reports.
In Pilsen, honorary 5K and 10K runs pay tribute to the lives of past loved ones.
I wanted to celebrate it in the honor of him passing on to the next life.
Hosted by the United Neighborhood Organization, runners from across the country take strides outside with a virtual Day of the Dead race from October 31st to November 2nd. The organizers ensure the virtual experience creates community like years past.
You get the spirit of, the neighborhood with the murals and, all the, cool bakeries and restaurants and stuff like that. And you get the culture.
Although unable to unite in person, the organization pays tribute with a digital ofrenda, an altar for the competitors' ancestors.
It was just, extremely touching and emotional to see.
Participant Nancy Rodriguez put on her skull face mask and race day shirt in honor of her compadre, her husband's best friend and her children's godparent, who passed away from COVID-19 at the age of 43.
But it was very spiritual in the Day of the Dead because we really felt his presence.
Organizer Carlos Jaramillo says this year more than ever, the Dia de los Muertos race is a celebration of life.
Felt the impact of COVID-19, within, our running community.
Exercising love, traditions, and commemoration. Michaela Denault, Northwestern News Network.
This year, Carrera de los Muertos is donating proceeds to Girls Empowered, an after-school program serving at-risk teens.
NU students can select a credit, no credit grading option for all 3 quarters this year. This optional grading system will not count towards GPA, but will count towards your majors or minors. NNN's Gabrielle Coriati has the story.
This year, with students still scattered across the globe,
ASG worked with administration to find a new solution for the grading system. Credit, no credit.
The learning that has been going on in general throughout all of this is something that I think is challenging for everyone in different ways. So kind of moving into this, a few students came to ASG and they talked to me and we kind of sat down and strategized.
Under the new system, at the end of the year, students can decide which courses, if any, they want graded as credit, no credit.
We started off by saying we would have this number of courses that they would have to choose, but they'd choose in the quarter. And then you might think that your fall quarter was really overwhelming and everything was terrible. And then what if it gets a little worse?
The university met with mixed responses after making all grading pass, no pass in the spring. The new optional system gives students more choice.
This is great if you are a first, second, or third year student. It's not so great if you're in my bucket and a lot of other students' buckets of being a senior or graduating at some time this year.
Students cannot decide which classes will be credit, no credit until the summer. Some are worried they will not have the chance to make that decision before sending out their transcripts to prospective employers or universities.
We had a lot of conversations about how that might impact graduating students who are applying to graduate or professional schools or things like that. And so really took that feedback into account. And we were really trying to balance there.
School during a pandemic is not always as easy as ABC. Gabrielle Coriati, Northwestern News Network.
Students can take up to a third of their classes as credit, no credit. If you're graduating after fall or winter quarter, you'll have 2 weeks to make your decision. Now let's check in on sports with Joey Safchik.
That's right, Northwestern is 3-0 in Big Ten play, and that's the headline because it's the first time that's happened since the year 2000. And with the help of 2 more interceptions, the Cats won a nail-biter against Nebraska, making them the only 3-0 team in the Big Ten West. After the win, Northwestern is ranked 23rd in the AP poll. This Saturday, Northwestern faces Purdue for the right to that top spot in the division. The Boilermakers are second in the West and come in at 2-0 after an impromptu bye week. Northwestern's head coach Pat Fitzgerald says even though this game has big implications, he's not treating it any differently.
Every game's a big game. Every game when you're playing Big Ten football and in 2020, right, every game is a championship level game.
Northwestern and Purdue kick off at 6:30 Central Time in West Lafayette on Saturday. Back to you.
Up next, Wildcats proving all the world's a stage.
Theaters are dark across the country, and performers and audience alike are missing the stage. Now, Wildcats are bringing performances to your living room. Here's NNN's Vanessa Calson.
Every week, Northwestern students and alumni bring a children's story to life with Imagine You Storytime. Imagine You, which started over 10 years ago, has now gone virtual, and its founder says the new format lets anyone be a storyteller.
So you don't have to fit into that casting mode of you have to look a certain way.
Mantra Radhakrishnan was one of these students. As a freshman, she directed and wrote a modern retelling of The Jungle Book.
I think that it's really cool that in my first year, I was kind of able to do this thing that was completely my idea, and I got to direct and just oversee the entire process.
Hayden Sikora, a performer in The Jungle Book, loved being part of the story.
It was cool getting an opportunity early on to just jump in and do something.
Kelso says Imagine You's virtual format has also increased accessibility for audiences.
We can reach audience members who can't get to the theater, literally physically, or perhaps financially. And they can be anywhere. They can be anywhere in the country.
Kelso says storytelling for children is empowering.
Lets them experience and develop the empathy that we all need.
Bringing one of the oldest forms of human connection into a new age. Vanessa Kelson, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Vanessa. Imagine You Storytime's next performance will be The Elephant in the Zoom at 6 p.m. on November 15th.
And that's all the time we have for tonight. I'm Megan Leibowitz.
And I'm Rupa Palla. From all of us here at NNN, thanks for watching and stay healthy.